Hello everybody and welcome to Indigo Sky Holistic. My name is Davina. I am an energy healer, intuitive, psychic practitioner and also a mum of 3. And I'm here today to talk about something a little bit different. Something that kind of popped into my awareness whilst I was watching a reading, an oracle card reading on YouTube on Saturday or Sunday, I think, and it put a light bulb on in my head that made me go, oh, could this be impacting a lot of us who are on this journey into spiritual awakening, spiritual awareness, consciousness arising, aware that there's something significantly changing in the energetics of the cosmos around us that's impacting our physical lives, our reality. And it was like a massive light bulb moment because I've touched on this myself and felt like the perfect analogy for what we've experienced for many of us who've gone through these big transformational moments in life and been like, oh yes, it just feels just like that. And don't worry, I'm going to get there. I'll tell you what I'm talking about in a minute. and I was like, oh, could we maybe, do we need to maybe think about something differently in relation to this process that might make things feel a little less stressful and a little less chaotic as things maybe get a little bit crazier before they calm down. And the thing I'm talking about that's so many times been spoken to by the people who I have learned things from, or I have used when talking to people about either my own experiences or their experiences. When I talk to clients, I will use this experience, this idea with them, and this is like, it's huge. Let me know what you think. If you are new here on YouTube where you're watching this, then please do feel free to like and subscribe to the channel for more videos, more content. I also share EFT, emotional freedom technique tapping videos, and we'll be sharing some more emotional energy clearing videos as well over the course of the next few months as I rekindle my love for the 22 energy centers and the quantum energy clearing process, which I created back in 2021, I think, which I've realized is really needed much more, and we'll be sharing more about that and the 22 energy centers and the wonder and magic of those in the coming months. So yeah, please do subscribe to the channel for more content and more interesting content like this. So what am I talking about? What crazy thing am I talking about? So in the personal development world, in the spiritual healing, spiritual awareness, consciousness, rising world, all of those things, there are many changes that happen to us when we become more aware of our cosmic powers, our energy running within us, our ability to create reality through our thoughts and feelings. And oftentimes as we go through this, there might be like traumas released. My own journey has been like releasing traumas from the past. Complex PTSD may be something that I could claim to have had from my upbringing of being brought up in such restrictive mind control that I actually didn't know that I could get out of it. I was afraid because it felt like there was no escape from that situation without, literally being killed by God. And my journey through this has resulted in some epic transformations. I am not who I was 7 years ago. Was a mummy meltdown, close to wanting to end myself, close to not knowing that there was a way out, and all of that, dependent on alcohol, or too dependent on alcohol, wouldn't call myself an alcoholic, but I was craving that wine at the end of the day most days. I am not that individual now, and so many people who are on these similar paths realize this and have these epic transformations, and sometimes it feels like there's a death and rebirth gone on. And these, for many of us, have felt more intense over the course of the last couple of years. It feels like we're just constantly dying and being reborn. Parts of us are dying, and then we're like stepping into new parts of ourselves. And something that's often used for this process of transformation is the term metamorphosis. Wow, like that fits really well. And you look at the words metamorphosis that word comes from, they're about like profound change, great change, like a change in form. And that term fits for me, for sure. It fits who I was and who I am now. Very different. What I have become and what I am dreaming of becoming and what I'm creating with my feelings, my emotions, my mind now are vastly different to what they were even a few months ago. And the one thing that pops to mind when we think of metamorphosis is the very profound change that is the caterpillar to the butterfly. And it works really well. It's a great analogy. It's a very powerful analogy, because if you know anything about this particular metamorphosis, the caterpillar literally breaks down. It literally turns into goo in the chrysalis or cocoon before it becomes a butterfly. And it's that description that really gets us when we're looking at and thinking about this change. It's that turning into goo. Because if you've been through any of these changes of stepping out of old life habits and patterns into new ones, that idea that you have become goo and have mush before you become the butterfly, and obviously the difference between the maybe not very attractive caterpillar and the beauty and wonder of the butterfly feels also very powerful. So that's an analogy that works for so many people. The thing that got me at the weekend was when I was listening to a really beautiful, intuitive reader that I listened to, who talked about this, mentioned this, and said that about this death and rebirth process that feels like it's constantly happening for us. And there was like a light bulb aha moment of like, holy shit, the butterfly. How long does a butterfly live after it's come out of its cocoon, out of its chrysalis? How long do they live? I have it on reliable authority from one of my daughters who knows much more about this stuff than me. That's about 5 days. 5 days is how long the butterfly lives, and in that time it goes and pollinates some flowers, and it mates, and it lays eggs, and that's its purpose. That's literally its purpose. That's the butterfly's purpose. Pollination, reproduction, and then death. And those eggs hatch into little larvae like caterpillars that then go through the whole process again. And I just was like, is this why we just keep dying and being reborn so quickly? Because we give this analogy of this profound change of the caterpillar to the butterfly without thinking, hold on a minute, that butterfly's not going to live very long. When we look at the word metamorphosis, it actually, there are I think it's something like 70 to 80% of living species on Earth go through a metamorphosis process. One of the other favourite ones within our family are frogs, because they are frog spawn. Tadpoles, there's a vast difference between the tadpole and the frog. You saw a tadpole, you'd maybe find it hard to believe that it became the frog. And even, I don't know whether humans class as something that goes through metamorphosis, but as I was talking to my teenager about this, occurred to me that something that we don't talk about very often is the profound change that happens at puberty with humans, and how there are literally parts of their brain that are going through this metamorphosis process to become adults, and the profound change that goes on hormonally at that time to become adults that then can grow on to be reproductive. And yeah, we don't that's not what we think about when we think about metamorphosis. We just think about the one that is the most profound. And I've not researched this enough yet to see if there's any more really profound metamorphosis where you could use this description of the breaking down into the goo, because clearly that is the part of the caterpillar to the butterfly metamorphosis that appeals to those of us who have done that inner work, who faced our shadows, who felt like we've completely crushed and crumbled ourselves into goo to emerge a more feeling more powerful part, version of ourselves that feels like there has been this breaking apart, literally crumbling apart. And I will come back and talk on this more and see if I find any more quite so profound metamorphosis processes with other animals as profound as that one. But if we maybe want to think about looking at another species to use the analogy for, to consider that we'd like to live a little longer than 5 days after we've gone through our metamorphosis process before we go through a rebirth process again. I one of the first things that came up when I searched like metamorphosis species that go through metamorphosis was the salamander, and along as well as like learning a couple of things about salamanders I didn't know, like axolotls, which we love again as a family, salamanders, which I didn't know. Like clearly salamanders are not common in the UK, and it's not something that I was taught about at school, which is why I love the fact that my daughters know this stuff, because they've not been restricted by school education. They have just researched the things that interest them and can tell me all of this stuff about insects and animals and reptiles and amphibians that I just didn't know. So the salamander came up, and the salamander, when it goes through its metamorphosis process, they live about 30 odd years. I think the average is about 20 something years. And I'm like, actually, I'm ready to be a new version of me for 20 something years. I am ready to not be only in my butterfly for 5 days before I have to go back into caterpillar farm. I am ready to have a few years at least. And you know, maybe salamanders aren't as pretty and as attractive as butterflies. Maybe that's the part of the thing that we like. But you know what? A salamander is absolutely stunningly gorgeous to another salamander. And appearances, really, we should not be looking at the analogy needing to require something that we see as beautiful, because that's a judgment of something. That's a little shallow, shall we say, in how we perceive things. And yeah, there are a vast array, like frogs. Like so many cute frogs out there. Her daughter, who absolutely adores frogs, they are her spirit animal, and there are some very pretty frogs out there, but you know, they get a bit of a bad rep for, you know, that whole, like, I don't know, the prince and the princess and the frog story that we all grew up with. Like, you know, would you want to kiss a frog? Hell yeah, if it was cute. Or maybe even if it was an ugly toad, who knows. But yeah, let's start looking for some different metamorphoses. Anyway, let's start looking at metamorphosis in a different way. And rather than looking at the caterpillar to the butterfly, let's start looking at the great profound change that's occurring within ourselves. Maybe we are going through a metamorphosis, and we can address that and talk about that and see that. And there isn't anything wrong with this analogy of the caterpillar to the butterfly if we want to describe the goo, because I do think it's a beautiful analogy of what it feels like to be in that crumbling, crushed down process of rediscovering who you are. Certainly a few years ago, definitely felt like I was that goo, for sure. Maybe the thing is that we think we were emerging as butterflies way before it was time to. But yeah, this is my little interesting topic for discussion today. Let me know what you think. Let me know your thoughts on metamorphosis. Let me know if there's another species of creature that you would rather be metamorphosizing into. And yeah, please do give this video a thumbs up. Tell me what you think. Comment, subscribe, and I will see you again with another maybe equally profound video another time. Take care.